Here he is now as we celebrate his 1-year anniversary being on CBS News. It's Nate Burleson, also of the NFL Today, also of the NFL Plus app, also of Nickelodeon and everything else. Nate, good morning.
Did I hear you say Nickelodeon? What's going on over there?
Yeah, no, that's me impersonating Chris Mad Dog Russo, who cannot pronounce Nickelodeon.
Yes. We've sung your praises. Don't worry about it. And happy 1-year anniversary at CBS News.
Yeah. It's been 1 year of working in the morning next to Gail King and Tony DeCopo. It's been quite the whirlwind, but I'm enjoying it every step of the way.
So Nate, how difficult is it to get up at whatever time you get up and work for 2 hours in the morning?
It's not that bad. When I was doing Good Morning Football, I was waking up around 4:45. Now I'm waking up at 4 a.m. So 45 minutes don't make a difference. Boom, you know this, man. I mean, when you're waking up early at this point, it never comes around on time.
No, we're right there with you, man. That's how we feel. But I will say this, that you guys did a great job on Good Morning Football. And everybody, Kay Adams has got her new deal over at FanDuel. You got your CBS gig. But you're still also with the NFL Network, too, I think.
That's right. Still working with the NFL Network. I'll be doing a lot of the tentpole events, and I also make time for Good Morning Football occasionally.
But you also have 2 kids that play high school football over in Jersey.
I do, yeah. At Ramapo High School. Shout out to Ramapo High School. We're 3-0, looking to go 4-0 this Friday. My son Nathaniel is a senior wide receiver, and I have a junior, Nehemiah, who is a tight end. So, full-time dad, but also working multiple jobs. This is the life, baby.
Man, I tell you, with all these jobs, Mark Lepselter better be sending you an edible arrangements basket every month or something. I mean, for crying out loud, you better some socks, something in the mail, for Christ's sake.
I'm the golden goose over here, man. I need a bottle of wine.
This guy's retired to Florida on your back.
Or something, yes, I know.
Literally, huh?
Yeah. He hit it big. People may not know this, but Nate got started through the NFL boot camp, the TV and broadcasting boot camp. And that's when he started Good Morning Football over there at the NFL Network, and then came to us at CBS and was doing both shows, just like I do here. And it was great, and he was an instant hit the moment he sat in that chair. And one of the reasons why CBS News plucked him out and put him in the morning broadcast there, and which is great. And I want to ask you 2 football questions, if you don't mind. Can I do that?
Yeah, of course.
I was going to ask you about the UN and all the climate change and everything else, but I'd rather not. Let's just keep it to football. This is a sports show anyway, and Aaron Judge hit his 60th last night, so we got a lot to celebrate around here.
Yeah.
Number 1, Keyshawn Johnson comes out and says the Jets better not screw up Garrett Wilson. What's he talking about? How are they going to screw him up?
I don't understand how the Jets can screw up Garrett Wilson. One, they just have to give him an opportunity. One, him being back on the field healthy, and then allowing him to finally gain some type of rhythm and chemistry with his teammates. But oftentimes when former players point to an organization, I think that's old wounds that they're opening up with themselves versus what's going on nowadays. I actually like the coaching staff that the Jets have, and I love the players. I mean, look at what they did this past weekend. One hell of a game. And Joe Flacco, with everybody looking at him at this age. And what I love most about it is how they responded to him on the sideline and in the locker room after the game. I'm not concerned about the Jets screwing up, any player on the squad. For me, I'm concerned about having Zach Wilson back on the field healthy and then figuring out what they want to do with the quarterback position. Because if Flacco keeps winning, what are they going to do at QB?
Right, exactly. So Nate was a former wide receiver with the Minnesota Vikings. Randy Moss was his teammate, the Lions, and that's where who's your teammate there? I can't. It's off the top of my
Calvin
head.
Johnson.
Calvin Johnson was your teammate there.
Megatron.
Right, Megatron. And then, of course, you played out in Seattle, and you were one of the best punt returners in football. All right, so what's going on with the Giants with Kadarius Toney and Kenny Golladay? So they sat pretty much Kenny Golladay last week. He's got the big contract from the previous regime. He can't be too happy. And then, of course, the game before that, Kadarius Toney barely got on the field. We saw a little bit more of him last week. What's going on with those 2 guys, and how do you think Brian Daboll's handling that situation?
I love Kenny Golladay as a wide receiver. Now, there's been a lot going on over the last year or so you can't necessarily blame the lack of production on him and him alone. Kadarius Toney, some of the quickest feet I've ever seen. When he's healthy, and he has his mind right. And by mind right, I mean just going out there in between the lines and being an absolute professional. He is so tough to stop. I feel like when it comes to how Dabo might be handling the rotation of wide receivers, it's one who has the best rhythm with the rotation. And by rotation, I mean guys that can play outside, inside, knows the playbook like the back of their hand, and are concerned about getting the rock. Now, on the flip side, there could be things going on behind closed doors when it comes to a young fellow like Kadarius Toney. I would love to see Kenny Golladay get more involved in this offense. He's just not getting the opportunity. And boom, come on, man, let's just call it what it is. When you pay a guy that much money, go ahead and show him, show the team, show the world, the football world, that all that money was for naught. Now, I get it. There's been a lot of turnover, so there might not be the same type of admiration for Kenny Golladay, but as a wide receiver, him being a big target, a guy that can move the chains, you got to utilize him more.
When Phil and Boomer bicker on the NFL today, do you feel like you're watching the two old Muppets in the balcony?
No, I feel like I'm watching 2 8-year-olds at recess. I mean, they're so childish, and they have the most immature jabs at each other. But I got to be honest with you, it is the funniest stuff I've ever seen. I'm talking about having us in tears. I've said it for the last few years. I wish that we could record what we do during the commercial break and just put it out there. It will be some of the most entertaining TV.
Yeah, I mean, if you heard Boomer off the air today, I tell you, if we turn that into a podcast, he'd make about $10 million on that. Oh, baby. So I want to ask you about a topic and a man that Boomer and I argue about all the time. His name is Kirk Cousins. Where do you stand on how good or not good a player and a quarterback Kirk Cousins is?
I feel like Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. He hasn't proven to be a great winner or a guy that can win you a Super Bowl. There hasn't been a season where you look at him and you say, all right, undoubtedly he's one of the best QBs in the game, and by best I mean top 3 or 5. And there isn't a moment where you look at his team and you say, oh, that right there is a Super Bowl squad. Because the moment you fall in love with Kirk and the team, you know, they have a disappointing game the following weekend. I feel like he's worth the money, considering what the top quarterbacks are going to be asking for over the next couple of years. And he broke the bank, when he was in Washington and now in Minnesota, and I don't mind it. It is what it is at this point. We can't complain about guys making money because the league is making so much more. But do I think that my former team, the Minnesota Vikings, are on my list of Super Bowl contenders this season? No, not what I've seen the first couple of weeks.
Well, I don't know. They handled Green Bay pretty good. But, again, they got to win on the road. He doesn't win in prime time, as Gio always reminds me. Not sure why. I don't know what the problem is. But he's certainly got – look, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs. If you had your choice, who would you take number one? Tyreek Hill?
A week ago I might have said Justin Jefferson. But after what Darius Slay, my former teammate, cornerback for the Eagles, did what he did, which is pretty much lock him down. And I love both of the guys, by the way. This isn't me taking a shot at Justin. I would say Tyreek Hill. There hasn't been a moment where Tyreek Hill hasn't impressed us. I mean, boom, how many times have we sat there in between games, getting ready for our halftime reports, and Tyreek runs a route, and we just look at each other. We don't say anything. It's like we frown up, and then we're confused, and then we laugh. He's so quick. I mean, cat-like reflexes, but his separation, because he can step on toes so fast, he gets in and out of breaks faster than any wide receiver. So we're talking about 3 or 4 yards of separation, and what that does for a QB has to mean the world. Because by the time Tua looks up, or when Patrick Mahomes is throwing to him, he's just throwing to a location in the field where there isn't a DB in sight. So if I had to pick one, I'm going with Tyreek Hill, which is crazy because I played with Randy. And Randy was, 6'4", 6'5", Olympic speed fast, an absolute freak with soft hands. And then I played with Calvin, who's 6'5", 235, can run a 4.3, and jump a 44-inch vertical. So I've always been partial to the big guys because I've seen two of the best. Now Tyreek Hill has me looking at shorter guys that are quick, fast, and explosive that can do it all. So, yeah, I would go with Tyreek.
All right, last one for me, quickly. I know that you know Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, personally. You've been around him. You've been in meeting rooms with him and everything else. I mean, come on. I mean, this comeback against Baltimore was unbelievable, but his press conferences are already becoming legendary. We on the NFL Today do play a vignette of his press conferences. Give the folks out there a little bit of an insight as to who he really is and why his coaching is effective.
Yeah, he's a cool cat, man. I remember playing for him. He's the quarterback's coach for the Cleveland Browns, and I had a cup of coffee there. He had his Air Force Ones laced up. He would kick back in his seat. He would crack jokes, play music. That's him as a coach. And he's similar to that now, a little bit more tightened up, but he doesn't take himself too serious. And he also realizes, like, maybe this demeanor is better for my team. Because, sometimes when a coach is too uptight, the team can't handle that because they're a reflection of. But look at the way that Mike is in these press conferences, and look how loose his team is playing. Maybe those two things are relatable.
Kiss, marry, kill, Boomer, Phil, Coach Cowher.
Oh, man, listen, I got to kiss Boom because he thinks he's the sexiest dude in the world.
Thank you.
He walks in every day and says, "Daddy looks good." I guess you gotta marry Coach because he's by the book. Everything's gonna be tightened up at the house, and then I guess I'm tossing Phil off the bridge.
Yeah, I guess we're all killing Phil.
Thank you for answering that question, Nate, and congratulations on 1 year at CBS News. We love watching you, and we'll see you on Sunday with Boomer.
All right, sounds good, fellas.
All right, take it easy, Nate.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.